Hello, today I am jumping into a new hobby, that of the world of Gundams and Gunpla. I've gone ahead and I've bought myself a model kit, and in this video I will be building a Gundam for the first time ever. And that's all I'll really be doing. I'm not going to go ahead and do things like painting or line work or decals. That's a bit advanced for me at the moment, and I just want to see if I can get the thing together and see if I enjoy the building process. So most people normally watch the Gundam anime and go ahead and purchase the models. However, for me, I haven't seen the anime itself, but I have seen the mechs. So the designs and aesthetics of them I do feel are quite cool. So that's the main reason I'm buying this, mainly for the style. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to be doing a time lapse of the build process and providing some commentary over the top on how I found it. So let's get into it. The Gundam kit I bought was the Gundam G-ELSE, G-ELSE, which belongs to some dude called Zen apparently. I hope it's not a badly written character, but this is the risk you run when you buy something without knowing the source material first. Inside we find the instruction booklet with the details on how to put this together, as well as some lore about the mech and character. It was nice to see some English instructions, but even without them it still would have been pretty easy to put together like IKEA furniture. There was also another small piece of paper, but that was entirely in Japanese. I assume it included some do's and don'ts, but I'm not sure. Lastly, we had the sprues, which were packed into 4 different bags, 2 large and 2 small, so they're not entirely loose. When opening the sprue bags, I expected it to be quite flimsy and open easily. However, it proved to be quite sturdy, and I had to put some stress into actually pulling it open. So it's just small things, but that extra little bit of package durability does make it feel a little bit higher quality. There were 10 sets of sprues in total, varying in size, with the largest containing around 30 pieces and some of the smallest containing around 5. I laid them out on my table the same way they were laid out in the instruction booklet, just so they were easy to find which one I wanted, but they were labelled A through H and some other letters, so even if I didn't lay them out this way, it still should have been easy enough to find them. This is also where I found out that the first half of the booklet actually is only in black and white. It would have been nice if the whole thing was in colour. Anyway, let's move on and talk about the bulk of what you will be doing when you do go ahead and build a Gundam. As you can see ahead of me, cutting out pieces. And while taking a set of clippers and cutting out a piece does sound very simple, there's a little bit more to it. If you go ahead and you use your clippers or cutters right where the sprue attaches to the piece and cut it out, you're probably going to get some stretched plastic, and that's probably going to leave white marks on the models. So what do? This is where you cut off and create little nubs, and then you get rid of those nubs. So when I did cut, I always left a few millimeters excess, just so that that part would get that extra stretching and white marks on there, and cut it off with a hobby knife. As I knew I would be doing some cutting, I needed to go ahead and buy a hobby knife first, and also buy a cutting pad so that I wouldn't scratch or cut my table. So I went and got these on Taobao for around 25 RMB, which is around £2.50, £2.70. Not spending a lot of money because I still don't know if I'm into this hobby yet. So I've got my tools, I've got my method. How did it go in the end? I felt that it ended up being okay. Not the best results in the world, but it was definitely serviceable and helped me get the job done. The actual cutting of it out of the sprues is very quick and easy. However, using that hobby knife and cutting away the extra nubs, you need to be very careful, because you can cut too much and start cutting into your model and altering and ruining the silhouette. You can also cause unnecessary or easy scratches on the pieces, or you may cut away at the nub but still leave a small bit of white plastic there. So then you've got 2 options, which are either to leave it or to cut into that piece a little bit, trying to shave off those extra little white areas. And there was quite a few times where I probably cut off a little bit more than I should have. Now, can this problem be solved? Yes, of course it can. Now, there's probably a couple of ways. Firstly, I could get better and make less mistakes if I get into the hobby more and move on to a new project. I now know what I'm doing, so I can be more confident in the process. However, that's not going to help me fully. Even if I keep doing this, I may run into this small area. So, sandpaper or a nail file. I may not want to risk cutting too deep into a model. So if we use sandpaper and sand over that area and go down enough, or if we've got a slight little bit of a nub that we may not think it's worth cutting in case we ruin the model more, I could have used some sandpaper or a nail file just to help grind that down. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have any with me when I started this project, so I just went with what I had. Next time I do one, I may go ahead and have some sandpaper and do some sanding on the side, making sure I'm going along the edge so that I don't file it down too much. But overall, I do think there is a trade-off. Me building this Gundam took me a total of 8 hours, about maybe 8.5 hours, because I was spending a lot of time cutting out and being very careful. If I went ahead and maybe filed every piece on the edge as well to make them extra smooth, I may have added another 4 hours. If I got into hobby even more and decided I wanted to paint or add decals, even more time. So I think there's always a line between how high quality or how good you want to make the model versus how much time you want to spend on it. Some people may want to build this model kit but may not have the time, so they may go in with the clippers and just clip all around the part and build it within a couple of hours and not care that much. However, others may care about the even smallest detail or tiniest nick or imperfection and want to get it perfect. So I feel like if you do want to go ahead and you don't want to do a lot of this filing down or cutting carefully off the nubs, that's fine, it's up to you. I don't think I'll have 8 hours every weekend to try and build something like this, or if I want to do one that's fully painted or more detailed, I'm not sure if I have 12 to 16 hours. I don't know how long that could even take, and it is quite daunting when you think about that time commitment. I'll spend a while just talking about how you get these pieces out of the sprues and packaging. Let's talk about getting them together and assembled, and this is the best part about the Gundam model kits, is that they are push fit and they work. You take one piece, you take another piece, you slot them together, slot them into another piece, no glue, no anything required, and then at the end they become fully posable. And there's no screws, no additional things. This is what made it the most satisfying. I go ahead, take out this piece, get it to the best I can, and then just slot it together. I feel if there was an extra step needed, such as gluing together or anything like that, it may kill it for me. But I've also done like other model kits, like steel earth things and stuff like that, and some of the times with like other model kits, it can be quite hard to maybe get pieces together, or maybe they're not fully aligned or don't go together perfectly. But building this kit, everything went together really well. And with each piece slotted and fit together, you can slowly see the progress as you're building up the model. Every time you do a finished piece, you set it off to the side, all the way to the end. So here's my left arm, here's my right arm, here's the torso, here's the head, and it comes to that final moment where in the instructions it says slot them together, attach them, make these joints whole, and it's done. It's finished. You've spent 8 hours on this. You've made it yourself. It's done. Display it. Look at your hard work. And that was a nice bit of dopamine. That was amazing. Here I am with the finished product and to share some thoughts and views on my experience. So overall, was it worth buying a Gundam kit and building it? Yes, definitely. One of the things I was worried about when I did go ahead and build this was whether or not I would feel invested in the model or like it that much, even though I don't actually know the source material. So I thought maybe I would build it and have no connection, but the building process does make you have that sense of achievement, so definitely feels worth it. Maybe if I actually watch the anime, if I go ahead now and I see one I like, or a character I really like and then build the mech, I might feel even more attachment or satisfaction, but I don't know. I still feel very happy with doing this, even though I have no idea who this bloke is. Yeah, but apart from that, only downsides I would have. So these models, they're not made as toys, they're made pretty much to display, which is why so many people online take so many different photos of them in so many different setups. The only part I found was an issue was mainly the joints. mainly because on this, I'm just going to pick them up now. So these are made to pose, but for example, if we look at this, that middle joint there, if I'm putting them forward, it's just falling back to the point where most of the weight is. So that's not that great because it's loose. The same as well, if I just do this, this pops off very, very easily. So I can be adjusting the top or the torso and the legs just fall off. And also as well here, I found sometimes I was adjusting the arm came off. So anyway, I found that sometimes I was adjusting the arm and this would come off pretty easily. So there are ways and methods that I saw online after the fact, after I built this, where you can use things like paint and super glue to try and make it tighter. That's not something I'm going to try just because I'm a little bit worried about what if I mess up the model. Maybe if I bought another couple of Gundams, built them, I would try and see the technique, but because this is my only one, I don't want to risk damaging him. But yeah, some of the joints definitely need to be tighter, and because of that, it kind of is hard to get into the position you want. And as well, depending on how it's weighted, if the joints are too loose or it's falling, it can cause it to be a bit lopsided and fall over. So yeah, I did have a little bit of difficulty sometimes as well, just getting him positioned. Which is why if on the back of the model, they've got like a little slot, and on the instruction booklet, it tells you you may want to go ahead and buy it, is that little display holders. So you can put your Gundam in more dynamic poses, looks like he's jumping through the air or flying, maybe something like this, which that's not a very dynamic pose. Let's see, bent leg, one leg forward. Yeah, I guess a jumping pose like this maybe, where you could just plug that into the back and have him stood it up. And that would definitely, I think, necessary if I wanted to get into the hobby more or have some more interesting poses, because he was a little bit difficult to get standing up, especially with the more dynamic the pose, the more he's weighted to one side and could fall over. But overall, that aside, the actual Gundam kit was great value. It was worth putting it together. It's a new experience, it's a new thing I've tried, and I'm happy that I've tried it. But yeah, that's it really. So I think I will definitely get another Gundam in the future. Probably not soon because I've spent so much time on this one, but we will see what happens. I might go to Toys R Us and see another one on sale. So anyway, with that, video over. Thank you for watching. If you've watched, if you've enjoyed watching me somehow, feel free to subscribe. If you've got any views on this Gundam or my building it, leave a comment down below, or if you just liked the video, throw a like. Anyway, video over. Bye.